Hi, and welcome to A Better Place. Today we continue in our series as we discuss motivation, amongst other things, with a very beautiful, intelligent young lady from St. Martin. Stay tuned, we will be right back.
It's a wireless system. Cable WTN. Go digital WTN with local TV channel 10. Call and make a date. 542-5898. Down by overseas building, Ruby and staff waiting. 48 channel, fasting with plenty more coming. News and sports from all over. Novella, Creole and Patois. Local thing is priority soon. Papi Menton, Taki Taki. WTN channel TV 10. We'll always be your friend. Check out the scene, we have the best rate. 542-5898. Hey man! WTN K1.
Hi, and welcome back to A Better Place. As I mentioned in the intro, we will be talking to a very intelligent, beautiful, and talented young lady from St. Martin, none other than Miss Nicole de Weever. Nicole, welcome to A Better Place.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So Nicole, we've been hearing so much good things about you and also seeing all of these wonderful works that you're doing on St. Martin since you're back. Can you give us a little history about Nicole for those who might not know who you are?
Well, I consider myself a performing artist because first I was, of course, labeled as a dancer, the dancer from St. Martin, but I consider myself to be a well-rounded artist. I sing, I dance, I act, I've done commercial work, but most recently what I've been really involved in is using my art as activism, using my art to be active in the community and to make significant positive changes. So I am from St. Martin, as I said before. I consider myself the girl from Cahill. You know, born and raised, left St. Martin at the age of 14, and actually in about 2 months from now, it will be 20 years since I've been abroad, living away, and home is always very important to me, so I've been coming back more often. But I can simply say that I've been able to have a very extensive career in the field of dance and performing, and I'm really trying to make my life have some purpose. And with my life having a purpose, I feel like in the content of giving and sharing and be able to create opportunities for young people from St. Martin specifically.
Okay, great. So you said that you're from Cahill, you're from St. Martin,
Yes.
and like you mentioned before, everyone knows you as Nicole being the dancer.
The dancer.
So for those who don't know, how did you get involved in dancing, and from what age did you start?
Well, I started dancing at the Rainfield School, which was actually on Front Street. It was owned by a Venezuelan family, and I started at the age of 4. And I remember actually my very clear memories of being able to first dance was actually involved in creative movement. So of course it wasn't on a level of professional, of course,
Right.
but it was like playground dance for kids. And I remember very clearly walking up from my grandmother's house with my sister, holding my hand, taking classes at the Rainfield studio. And then from Rainfield, I changed schools, and I went to Motions Dance School, which at that point was directed by Kees van Dulderen. And yeah, that has been the foundation actually of my dance training in St. Martin.
Yeah, because I can remember the name that you just mentioned is not really familiar to me. But I remember growing up that, yes, Emotion, but then there was another one, Mayflower, May something. You remember that one?
I kind of, you know, I don't want to say I know the name, but I think it's May Green.
May Green, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can be mistaken with the last name, but I never trained with May Green.
No? Okay.
No.
All right, so, and what was that like? I mean, who noticed? Was it something that you wanted to do, or was it something that, you know, as usual, parents think that it's nice to get their kids involved
Well,
in arts?
When I think of people around me or kids around me that were taking dance class, I feel like it's a cultural thing to involve and engage your kids in like cultural activities,
Right.
especially back then. To me, it's less now than it used to be. But I feel like it was in our DNA, in a sense. We were always very creative people in St. Martin. We are very creative. And most of the kids at that time wasn't engaged in a lot of cultural activity, and that just happened to be what I actually desired. I love dancing. I grew up just singing and dancing and being very hyperactive as a child. So I guess that was a great way for my parents to actually direct my energy in something that was had a source of discipline, as well as something fun and an activity, extracurriculum after school. So I literally lived by the dance school.
So how often did you train? Was it like once a week? Because if you
No,
start at that age,
I can remember going to dance at that time. I mean, I don't have much of an expansive memory
yeah,
when I
of
was
course,
4,
yes.
but I remember going quite often. It was probably 3 times a week, because I remember it would have either been like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Right.
that type of thing. But I remember as I got older, I pretty much reside at the dance school. I would spend my own entire day there, so spend a lot of hours. And I mean, that kind of dedication also applies to actually then understanding the kind of passion that I had for it, to take it on another level where I felt like it could possibly be a career.
yeah, okay, because you said you left at the age of 14. Before you left, you said you were residing, practically residing at a dance school. Was it before you left that you realized that this is something that you might want to consider as, you know, a professional career?
Well, you know what? I had different emotions about it. I initially left to go to high school,
Right.
and my high school at the time when I left St. Martin in the States was not a performing art high school, but we did have a pretty extensive department for the arts, but it wasn't a conservatory program. So any activities that I did outside of my high school was actually after school.
Okay.
Now, did I know that I wanted to be a dancer? I know that it was something that I loved, and I couldn't see myself not doing it. But I, of course, went through a period of time where you have doubt and fear creeps in, and you're thinking, okay, like everyone around me was saying and projecting when they speak to me about I'm wanting to be a dancer, and if I speak of it, there would always be this inkling of, you know, maybe you should pursue something that is a real job. So, of course, it's also because of the mindset of most and the majority of people here thinking that dance cannot be a career. But
Right.
there was moments within my life at that age that was more fragile in terms of my decision making for career, where I had doubts about what I wanted to do. But it wasn't until my junior year in high school that, of course, I had to make that ultimate decision of applying for universities, and I had to make a decision whether it would be on a more academic level
Right.
or on a more conservatory, veering towards the arts level. So then is when I really had to make a decision. But I always knew that I wanted to do something artistic and creative.
Right, okay. And like you said, you know, dancing was in you. What about singing? Because you said you also sang, and I
Yeah,
know,
I did.
I know that all of you sing. I mean, Angelique
Yeah.
sang, you sang. So wasn't that something that you would have wanted to go into as well? Because I know that in what you did, of course, singing comes into play as well.
Of course.
But did you do anything with that, singing?
Yeah,
in terms-
actually,
Yeah.
it was actually very interesting how I got to work with Mark Ronson, who is a very well-known, renowned producer from the UK. And I worked with the rapper Wale. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's a very well-known rapper from DC, the DC area. And I actually sang some background tracks in his album.
Okay.
And,
But
you
Nicole, in the second segment of this program, we're going to talk about, you know, what transpired when you went to the U.S. But for now, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue discussing that, okay? Stay tuned. We will be right back.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Hi, and welcome back to A Better Place. So, Nicole, now I want to discuss, you know, what transpired in your life when you went to the U.S. and actually what made you go to the U.S. to do your high school years?
Well, you know, sincerely, as a kid, I hated sleepovers. And I remember when I came to my parents and I said to them, you know, Dad and Mom, I want to live with Auntie Tessie. That's what I said to my mom and dad. I was 14. And they were like, what are you talking about? You can barely sleep over without crying to come back home. I mean, imagine, at that age, I was still having problems trying to sleep outside of my home. And I remember I reached a place within me where I just felt like I wasn't growing, sincerely. I felt like I needed to leave. I didn't feel stimulated. And at that age already, I had felt that. I felt a little stifled, and I had already come to a place within my dancing where I felt like I wasn't being challenged. And so I told my mom and my dad, you know, can I go and live with my cousins in Virginia? And like literally, of course, they were, you know, like, are you serious? And then they said, okay, well, if you're considering to do so, you go away in the summer and see how that goes. So I left early that summer, and I spent a little bit of the summer, and then I started school within that month. And that's how it transpired, of me actually longing to be challenged and feeling a little bit like I was not growing and I needed to expand. So I felt like leaving my direct environment at that time was crucial.
Okay. And of course, you did your high school, and you said it was in your second or your third year when you had to make a decision if you wanted to go
Well,
into...
I actually left. I was going into my sophomore year, which is the equivalent, I believe, to ninth grade or 10th grade. I believe it's 10th grade. And then the 11th grade year, which is the junior year, is where you decide to go and visit campuses of school that you're interested in, and you start actually writing applications to then apply for schools for the senior year. You know, so I was, you know, involved heavily in a lot of actual programs that facilitate preschool programs for college, which I did Governor's School of the Arts that year. For Governor's School, I was enrolled as a dancer. So I was chosen out of the county of Virginia, which is Fairfax County, to represent that county for the state of Virginia. So it already kind of propelled me to desire conservatory programs for the arts. So that kind of also played some type of part in making that decision even more actively. So that's pretty much, that was kind of like the turning point, being accepted into Governor's School for a pre-college program, and then deciding, you know what, this is where my heart lives, and that's why I decided.
And I'm assuming that in the States there are numerous schools that you could apply to. Any ones in particular that you applied to that you really wanted to go to?
You know what, I applied to New York University, Tisch School of the Arts, early decision, which means months or nearly a half a year before, you know, about 4 months before everyone else that applies know that you would either be accepted or rejected, unfortunately. And I applied early decision to NYU, so I found out right away from my first decision, which was NYU, that I got in. So it was really like amazing for me because I didn't have to worry about not being able to be accepted into school. So I got into my first decision, which is like a blessing in disguise because I didn't have to worry and stress about having to apply and get approved to other schools. So I was very fortunate to get into my first decision school, which was NYU's program.
And any particular reason why New York?
Well, New York to me is like the mecca of all arts. I mean, you can study and be exposed to so many genres of arts, whether you're a dancer, singer, actress. It is the mecca. It's where everyone comes to try to pursue a career. And I felt like if I want to transition into working professionally, the best environment I could be in is a city setting, which NYU has that campus where it's not really a traditional campus. It's spread throughout the city.
Oh, wow.
And then their faculty is also, in terms of the arts and any genre, field of study that you want to do, all professionals and all high caliber names that are teaching in those schools actually can have an opportunity provided to you by them even actually seeing you. So I thought that would be the best environment for me to transition from school to the workforce.
Okay. So how soon did you start? Did their school starts when, in September, August?
Yeah, actually all schools in New York starts after Labor Day, so it's September.
September. And okay, you were accepted, you went, and?
It was amazing. My program was 3 years long.
Okay.
And you know, it's usually 4 years. But what they did is you take a lot of credits. It's a really intense program. It's a conservatory, but because NYU is also very academic driven, for me to be able to have a NYU degree, I had to study extensively in all academic areas to be able to hold that degree. So I had to do my conservatory program classes as well as a lot of academics through either the Stern School, the College of Arts and Sciences, you know, the social science program. So I felt like I had a very well-rounded education academically as well as artistically. And then, as I was saying before, it was a 3-year program, so I had to take 2 summers. So when everyone else was hanging out for the summer, I had to take summer school to be able to graduate within 3 years of a 4-year syllabus, you know, so.
And you managed.
And it got done.
So while you were going to school, were you
Yeah.
involved in extracurricular activities outside
Well,
of what
to
you
be
did?
quite honest with you, it was very hard to have a social life.
Okay.
It was very hard to do anything extra, but every now and again I would try to venture outside of school and take like an open enrollment class at like Bridge for Dance or at the Ailey School or at Broadway Dance Center, but very rarely because the program was so intensive and we had so many credits to take to be able to graduate in 3 years that it was hard to balance doing anything outside more extensively than the program that already existed.
Right. So I guess what I want to ask is then, how do you get discovered if you're only doing your classes and you're only in school and you're not really being able to show your talent outside of school?
Well, my school hosts a lot of student showings, and a lot of choreographers come to the school to do auditions for their pieces that they premiere on the Second Avenue Dance Company, which is the company that you become part of in your senior year at NYU. You become the Second Avenue Dance Company. And so the senior year, you have tons of choreographers that would just show up to our student showings and observe pieces that students create, as well as they would set pieces. And interestingly enough, my senior year at the Second Avenue Dance Company, I worked with Bill T. Jones. And working with Bill T. Jones was, of course, an amazing opportunity because he's renowned all over the world for his choreography and his pieces of work on Broadway. And then, coincidentally enough, years after the fact, I auditioned for him for Fail at the Broadway musical. So whether or not that had anything to do with my chance of being able to work with him on a professional level outside of school, I felt like it prepared me to work with choreographers on that caliber because I was already exposed to that my senior year. So.
Okay, Nicole, so we have to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about your experience after dance school. Stay tuned, we will be right back.
Are you really gonna eat all of that?
All of that chicken? All of that lettuce, cheese, and bacon?
Introducing KFC's new Mr. Twister. It's all that and more, featuring our famous crispy strips, bacon, lettuce, tomato, a cheese blend, and our signature Colonel sauce, all wrapped up in a giant tortilla and toasted to perfection.
You gonna eat all that chicken?
So good.
When I say Xerox, I know what you're thinking. Transit fares, as in the 37 billion transit fares we help collect each year. No. Oh, right. You're thinking of the 1.6 million daily customer care interactions Xerox handles, or the 900 million health insurance claims we process. So it's no surprise to you that companies depend on today's Xerox for services that simplify how work gets done, which is pretty much what we've always stood for. With Xerox, you're ready for real business.
Welcome back to A Better Place. So Nicole, now so we were discussing, you know, what you did during your studies, and now we want to discuss a little bit about what happened after your studies, so your career in dance.
Yes. Well, I was also very lucky because when I graduated from college, my very first job, I actually got straight out into the summer. And I auditioned extensively in the summer, which is usually probably a very low season to audition. A lot of auditions don't happen that time. But the year that I graduated, there was a pretty good amount of auditions happening, and I auditioned for the Library of Congress Museum to preserve black dance in America for the choreographer by the name of Katherine Dunham. And she, of course, was a pioneer in dance in the U.S., and they chose 10 dancers, 5 women and 5 men, and I was one of the individuals chosen. So that was my very first job. It was a film as well as dance. So it was a great experience because I was challenged on both accords, you know, dancing on film, which is meticulous and also not as easy as dancing on stage because you have to do many takes to get things right and precision and everything else. So I was very fortunate to have a job right out of school. And then over years, I extensively traveled with different shows such as West Side Story, with Forces of Nature Dance Company. So I did a lot of actual concert dance work before I did a lot of commercial work. But I feel like my career has expanded over the years to kind of transform, and I've been able to reinvent myself in every year as I'm progressing as an artist.
In one of the earlier segments, we were going to talk about your singing.
Yes.
And then we got a little bit sidetracked. So,
Yeah.
how do you incorporate your singing now in your acting? Not your acting, your career.
Well, I mean, I've been doing a lot of commercial work now, which means I'm doing more like, let's say, Broadway. And with that also you have to dance, sing, and act. And I always love singing, and being able to explore that medium and be challenged in that way. I was able to land a Broadway show, which was Fela, the Broadway musical. But prior to that, I did West Side Story, which was also a Broadway musical, but that was on tour. And so that challenged me a lot to sing and project and to own the voice that I know I had, and to discover it even more by doing different types of shows. And then also, as I said before, I worked with the artist Wale, and he's a rapper, and I did some background vocals for him for a very small project. It was an amazing opportunity to be able to do a recording scenario with singing, as well as being able to do a Broadway show, which we then had a recorded album for the Broadway show. So that was awesome as well.
Okay, good. So now we know that everybody in St. Martin was going crazy when they heard that you would be in the Broadway show Fela.
Yeah.
So tell us about that experience, and how was that for you?
Well, I actually was in the creative process of Fela, so I was in the process from the very beginning before it even became a Broadway show.
Okay.
So that was incredible. It was also a piece of work that was never done before. It wasn't traditional musical theater. It had a very strong message. It also was a predominantly black cast, and it was more than entertainment, and I felt like to be a part of something that was so meaningful for the first time, making my Broadway debut was, to me, the most important, is that I wasn't a part of just any regular show. It was a show that had a significant, important message. And so for me, I couldn't be more happy making that debut with such a high caliber show. And then also having the producers being Jada Pinkett, Will Smith, and Jay-Z. It was incredible meeting them and being able to interact with artists on that level, and meeting a lot of celebrities and being able to extend other projects from that experience. So I've been very blessed, because that show has also allowed me to be seen by people that gave me other opportunities, such as Beyonce, Alicia Keys. So I feel very fortunate with the career that I've had.
So Fela, you said it had a very significant message. What was the message?
Fela is a musical about the renowned Afrobeat composer. His name is Fela Kuti, and he was a Nigerian composer and Afrobeat musician that used music as a weapon. He fought against the Nigerian regime as well as the Nigerian government against corruption, and he was like the voice of the people that did not have access to be heard. So he was, people consider him the Bob Marley of Africa. I feel like he stands in his own right to be who he is, but he was a very powerful but yet controversial human being, and I played one of his 27 wives.
So this is a true story?
Yes, it's a true story of the life of a man that made a huge impact not only on his community in Nigeria but on the world, and also played a huge impact as well, and huge influence on music in general, because there's a lot of artists that have used his tracks and his music to implement in their own. So.
Okay, wow. And was he, is he still alive today?
No, he died in, unfortunately, 1997.
Okay, so this all happened after
but
he
his
passed.
kids and his legacy still lives on within his family. He has kids that are involved, and our children that are involved, and they are grown men and women involved in the music industry, such as Sheyun and Femi Kuti. And Yendi, and so they're very active with the movement of Afrobeat and what his music stands for, so they're upliving and keeping his legacy alive.
And of course they came to the performance?
Oh yes, they did, and they were amazing to us, because they also hosted us in Nigeria, because we were in Nigeria for about a month, and we interacted with them. Yes, we were the first Broadway show to be performed there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So tell us now, so you've done all of these great things with your career, and now you're in St. Martin, and
Yes.
we're going to be doing a two-part show with you, and we're going to talk a lot more extensively about your Art Saves Lives project. So before we come to the ending of the program, just tell us briefly, how you got the idea for the Art Saves Lives.
Well, I work extensively with different organizations in the U.S., such as Broadway Serves, Creative Outlet of Brooklyn, lots of programs that their goal is to go into the community and make an impact with their art. And so I said to myself, I do all of that already abroad, and I go into these, communities that really need to have access to the arts, and seeing how art is a form of therapy as well. How can I not be doing the same thing and impacting my own country? And over the years of going back and forth and visiting home, I've been doing a lot of volunteer work with different schools and organizations, and I said to myself, I need to make a more profound difference, and I felt like the way to doing that is also creating a foundation that will facilitate something that will be not only a one-time event or volunteering, but to be actually a movement with change and some sort of power that would shake the community and make a difference.
Okay, so thanks for that. We've come to the end of our program, but of course it's a two-part program, and in our second program we'll be discussing more on Art Saves Lives. Thank you, the viewing audience, for having been a part of A Better Place, and stay tuned for part 2 as we discuss the Art Saves Lives Foundation with our beautiful, talented, intelligent Miss Nicole de Weever. I am your host, Angelique Rameau.